What's up? Ah, it's working nice. School. Okay. Last where we left off, we were looking at this part here to improve the quote share provider to return humanly readable shares. And I'll have to reorient myself a bit or get reacquainted because last week I was sick. I had the COVID, been doing the rounds again. And the week before I went to KunlaQuota, which was lovely. It was great to see Duncan McGregor again and finally meet Simon Vergouwen, amazing person. Highly recommend going to one of his talks. Yeah, it was really nice. Thanks to Yo again for tagging along. I hope he enjoyed it as well. I think he did so. You know what? Let's just run all of the tests. Make sure that we're in green before we start doing anything at all. See that I got some things that I can update. Ah yeah, ooh, there's an update to the IntelliJ, and then I think what we haven't done yet is update to Kotlin 2.0. Ooh, there's some issues. The hell is this? Why is this failing all of a sudden? Oh, there's a... Oh man, I've got no idea. I don't remember putting this in a bad state. Could not find a valid Docker. Ah yeah, okay, that makes some sense, I guess. Engine running. Let's run it again. Ah, that's better, eh? Oh my. Got a bit afraid of that little wonky looking error. Cool. So the quote share provider, that's where it's at, huh? So if we go through our thing again, or like the full application is if somebody decides to say, let's do a share quote to this endpoint over here, when you then execute it, this share quote thing, you should get back some kind of a share reference, which should not be the UUID anymore. It should be something else. It should be the quote share, and then this quote share over here, there's a helper method as URI on it, where we build a URI saying something like this. Oh, it's all coming back to me now. Where we just ask, give me the value of this quote share. So now we are just free to re-implement how this quote share thing gets generated or created. And then we should see our tests fail somehow, eh? Because right now, I think I've got some tests for that. Here, there's the end-to-end test. There should be one that says, a quote can be shared with an easily shareable HTTP link. Okay, so here we're sort of faking it. There's a fixed share ID that's gonna come out of that. But this one, we know for sure because at the top, I think, yeah, we're setting up a dummy quote share provider, one that always returns a fixed share ID, in fact. So that's probably not what we want in real life or at actual runtime. It's a subtracting quote share provider. Why is it a... Ah, yeah. I remember now. Oh my. So first it returns an expected quote, then Karel, then Jones. Just to make sure that if you call it twice, it generates some quote share that you don't expect. And other implementations are non-existent. That's cool. So that means that if I run this thing here, do we have a share code? Yeah. Where I can run this one, I think. I'm not sure, in fact. This one should fail because my Docker is not running, eh? Yeah. Okay, that's great. I'm still sane. Let's run these. Version is obsolete. That's fun. Okay, so then if I rerun the application, it should load again. Noise. So then if let's say that we just try to fetch all of the quotes. Oh, there's a bunch of them in there. So that should mean that this share quote should still work. Let's see if that's indeed the case. Voila. Alright, and then we're getting this out of it. Which looks like a trimmed version of the UUID. Still not very readable, I guess. Okay, so I don't know how we make it a little bit more readable for people. Yeah, any ideas are welcome, of course. Maybe something like a random word every time or something. Or something that decodes this thing into just letters. I don't really have good ideas. But at least it should not contain a dash or something. That seems a bit weird. I'm interested in why there's only one implementation. Maybe it's because... Yeah. Let's see where this is used. Okay, we've got this implementation over here. And then wherever we construct, so it's probably where we define the bean. Yeah. There's a code share provider over here, and then here is the code share provider. We never put it in a real class. So instead of taking 12, I guess we should take 8, I believe it was. How do we see that thing again? If you go to the... No. I guess it's supposed to return the same thing again. So if I run it again... Yeah, at least it's the same, huh? So if we just take the first 8, it should be better already. So let's take the first 8. Cool. Then what we could do is transform that into something more readable. But what is more readable, huh? Guess we could do something like fetch a dictionary where we translate this into some kind of an identifier. So this the hex version of this one, I guess. Then you get the identifier of something that exists in a dictionary, and that is your word that you get back. Something like that. Or we could just be content with what we have there. Maybe it's already good enough, huh? Although I guess we would be leaking the internal ID a little bit. Oh, I've got really not a great. I don't have a lot of inspiration. Let's see. Okay. So I will leave it at this. You just take for the real quote share provider, only take the first 8 characters of the quote ID. Okay, then let's look at the stream. Imagine that we just did this, that's great. Then the share link is returned in a location header, which is weird, don't do that. Okay. That's an easier fix, I guess. So in our HTTP block over here, we're doing the as URI. So instead of doing that, maybe we can just return an OK with, wasn't there like, maybe we do body? Body like this. To which we then say, don't do this as URI thing, but maybe instead what we can do is, actually, we should just do dot value, huh? Oy, oy. Connection lost of my keyboard, that's always great. There, it's back again. Dot value, voila. This should be good enough. So if I then run those, if I redeploy, I should say, what was that shortcut again? Control Option R? Yeah. And then I go back to the API.http. We run this again. Voila, and now we just get a 200 with this as the ID. It doesn't look like it's taking the first 8 characters. Why is that? Is that because we're saving it? Yeah, I think it's because we're saving it. So let's imagine we've got another one. How many do we have? I just single quote, okay. Let's post another quote then maybe. With what's his face? Don't be sorry, be better. This was a quote that was used by one of the speakers at KunlaQuota. Forget his name. He had a great presentation though. And the person that said this, according to them, was the god of war, Kratos. Let's run this one. Then fetch all of the quotes. And now we should see the other one too. The most recent one is at the top. Voila. Then if we want to share that quote, and now we're using a different implementation, if we run it, we still get this one. Ooh. That's interesting, because this one looks quite a lot like that one. Something's going on. I don't think that that's a behavior we want, eh? Why is that? So let's remove this part. How does that work? So we say share quote of the quote that we want to share. We execute it. It's over here. We start using the quote share provider. That looks like it's a fixed one, huh? So here, it's only here that we execute it. We turn it into a record, then we save it. We turn it into a quote share again. But we're still using the reference anyway. Do we hard code that value somehow then? That's impossible, huh? So for some reason, the moment you do this one, or execute this quote share provider, it's always returning the same one then. Yeah, I guess that's correct. Because here we don't pass along nee. Wacht, hè. It's just a way to do it, hè, This is just a function that you then execute using this quote ID. And the quote ID is the thing that you... okay. I think I see what I did wrong. Yeah, okay. So even though we posted to this one, we still provided this as an ID. So that's why we got the same quote shared returned. And I guess now, voila. Now it's returning a new one, which is that one. That makes sense. The thing that doesn't make sense now that I'm looking at it though, is that this ID can be completely different from this one. So yeah, whether you post to this ID and whatever you add in here, it shouldn't matter, in fact. That's interesting, eh? Looks like something we should fix as well, eh? The share quote endpoint has the definition of a quote ID twice. Once in the URL path and once in the, how do you call it? The payload command. Either pick one or add validation that they need to be the same. So that's for later, guess now I did change something. I wonder if stuff might fail. I think it might not, because we're mocking or stubbing that or faking that provider. Alright. Oula, null pointer. Yeah. So now we're doing the post for location, but it's no longer returning a location header. So what we should just do is a post for entity maybe, which is just a string. And then I guess we're just getting an it here. Strubgunge. Let's run it again. Wait. Let's just run this one, eh? We still not. It's broken. Ah, that's indeed not what I expected. Ah, so here the it is the full response object, and we want just the body. So if we do it.body, voila, and then it should be equal to exactly that. There, that's better, eh? Cool. Run it again. Alrighty, so this would be simplified share quote endpoint to just return the share or the quote share identifier, voila, instead of a location URI. Okay. Good enough. Let's close a bunch of stuff. This I want to keep. Strem. Then the share quote endpoint has a definition. So this is the thing we just added. Let's fix that one. How do we want to do that? So does that make sense? So you do a post to some kind of an endpoint, and we do that so that we get a more unique path or route in our HTTP definition over here. So that's this post with an ID endpoint is different from that one. So we can assume that once a client hits this endpoint, that it's a share quote command. And otherwise, it should be an add quote because you're just doing a post. I wonder, we can just make this thing empty too, I guess. Why not, huh? So we should go like this and like make it a data object. And then let's see where stuff breaks. Okay. Ah, yeah. That's more interesting. So what we're trying, or the setup that we had was that in our quotes class, which is our service kind of thing, huh? We had execute functions per command that you could do. And it's in that command, or from that command, that you expect there to be an ID. Which I guess I still want to keep, otherwise we'll have to like grab like the ID out of the, what's it called, the URL. What's your problem? Oh, yeah. So I guess we're turning this thing into like an action you REST API or something like that, where you say do this action on that quote. And for me, yeah, it's because I want to reuse this thing that I'm running into trouble now. Because if this would be a share quote DTO or something like that, and this execute would then turn the DTO into a real share quote command, then I would also be safe enough. But yeah, let's just put it in a share endpoint. That means that this thing here should just be replaced with share. And in our end-to-end test, we also want to do that. So here in this new, we say post for entity where we pass along, and this is important to still do that, but then new location should become /share. Not exactly like that. It should be /API /quote /share. And that should, I guess, work. Let's find out. It does. That's great. Let's rerun our regular application. And then do a bit of a sanity check. So if I just rerun this one, okay, it's returning the same. That's great, huh? Let's run all of the tests for good measure first. And then once that's done, we can mark this with an X. I do notice now that when I went here and I ran this, the only thing you get is an ID or like the quote share ID, but the idea was that you would get something like this, HTTP quote, and then like share link or something like that with this this ID. But maybe we can fix it in a later stage. So what we did in this commit was made sure share link is returned in a 200. Instead of a 201 plus, what else did we do? Share quote endpoint now only takes one unambiguous quote ID. Okay, there's also a bunch of failure paths that haven't been tested in the repositories. Interesting. There's also a format local date time output in JSON properly, like so, and not blah blah blah. I vaguely remember how to do this. But I guess it's a bit too vague. So I know that you can control it by configuring your object mapper in some way. And here, where do we see that actually? Yeah, wherever you say return blah 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 as a something, it should be on the post, I believe, or on the get. Sorry, on the get. Here we're returning found quotes, and then over here there's Spring Magic going on, which uses the Jackson's object mapper by default. There's some configured one. And if we just configure that one to just return proper date ones, then we should be Gucci. So let's find out. So I think if we just define a bean that says object mapper, and we say actually this is a Jackson object mapper that we then configure with, and now we need the Google stuff. Configure Jackson object mapper with zoned or Zulu time. Behavior of custom date format. Oula. Here, the ISO 86. Right, disable write dates as timestamps. I would think you would want to enable it. Set date format. And this is to do it specifically per event or something like that. There's a custom date serializer. I don't want to get into that stuff. Yeah, I think I just want to use either this one. And what's the difference with that? Still lack the full flexibility of choosing the exact format, but I'm good with this one, I guess. Let's try it out. I don't really understand why you have to do this. That makes no sense to me. Set date format. Here we come. Set date format. And it also returns an object mapper. Something like this. Ooh. Well, okay then. Let's see if this works. So if I now return, or no, I'll have to redeploy. No. And then I'll go back to here and rerun this get thing again. Oh, motherfucker. It doesn't seem to work. Why it is not working? Okay. Yeah. So that's like the magic. In this web config, just defining a random object mapper is not going to work. What I'll need is like some kind of a stupid override, probably. Configure object mapper. Message converters, maybe? Christ. Why is it so annoying? Difficult. Configure default Spring object mapper. Customize a checksum object mapper. That's what I want to do. Yeah. What the hell? By default, blah blah blah, and it will output in the way I expected it to be. Why? Oh my god, you can really do that. This is so much easier. Cool. Where is my thing over here? Ooh. Let's put it over here. So, like this, I guess. Oh yeah, you don't. You have to set it to false, like that. And then rerun or redeploy. And then I'll just rerun the get. Fucking hell. Can you also configure the fuck yeah. For some reason I'm not getting the defaults, eh? You have to define it as a primary bean. Maybe I'm not using local date times in my return objects. Wacht, I'm returning what again? Quotes? Oh, these are local date times. And if you set it to true, does that do anything different? No. Oh god. What's this? Date keys as timestamps. None of these do anything. What if I do that? Nog niet alleen, what the hell? Well, this doesn't seem to work, eh? Next thing we should try to do was the part where they do this nonsense. So you define an object mapper, make it a primary bean. Sort of what I had before, huh? The only thing I was missing was setting it to add primary. Well, find out if this works. And it was disable of that one, exactly. Jonge. I have to be missing something here, huh? Do we have to register the the local date time module? Maybe that's why. I'm not sure if I have it on my class path even. Because I just have this one, and I'm not entirely positive, but I vaguely remember that there's like something like Jackson module. Oh man, yeah, Java time or something like that. You have to have. I figure that one was you already get if you just use Spring Boot Starter Web. No. Allee. So there's Jackson module, and then I want something with time or Java 8. Nah. Data type. It is a Jackson Java 8 one. There's no scrolling on this website. Okay. Oh yeah, okay. Then you're getting this. That's not what I have at all. Register Java time module. This one. And as you can see, it is on my class path, so I'm gonna undo this line. And then let's just try running the application again, I guess. Jongen toch. There was another option of configuring it without doing the override. Let's try this one, huh? want checks into object mapper builder. Can you also do a register on this one? No. Fucking hell. Okay. So it auto registers Kotlin, etc., etc. So theoretically, the only thing we need to do is do this. Which you cannot call. Date format. Okay. Let's try it out. Spring makes me cry. What is this thing? I think it's just weird that I'm not getting even this one by default. One last try. Nine man. Is it maybe it has something to do with we're using these router functions? Spring boot router DSL object mapper. What the fuck? Ah, it's Spring integration. Oh, that's not what I want neither. Help! 6 years ago. Yeah. This is what I was looking for, eh? I think it's very curious that none of these defaults are being used, eh? By default, this will be the response. It's not true. Which object mapper is being used then? Is there a way to define it here? It's not a function of the router DSL. Conversion. Something with a register. Nope. So it's not on that part neither. What about inside here? No, it seems it's got the same DSL. Huh? Yeah, that's not going to help neither. Boo. Where does this thing live? In web servlet function. So what happens if you do this body thing then? Here's body, we'll say default entity response builder from object. Uses a default entity response builder. Sure, there's a builder thing. Here's the entity. Oh. But how does it get serialized? Where is that part? Build. I should have done download sources. And there's this thing that it gets turned into. Oh my jongen. Right to internal, there's a model and view right with message converters. What I was reading here is that it's using message converters that are set on the context. And then they're checked if they can write it, and if they can, then great. Then you just transform it somehow. Okay, so where does this context come from? Pass it along. It's passed along here. Passed along with right to internal using some kind of a context, but yeah, this context probably then has that. All well. Server response on context. Where do we call that? Okay. Let's check this thing first. There's a server request context. That's a contender. This is handle error. Yeah. this handle. This is being called on a handler function adapter, which gets a servlet request injected into it, and which then uses a new server request context based on this server request over here, where we do a get on that one. Guess it's more to populate some stuff from Spring parameters. Here, just create a new one. Here's message converters. Message converters are on the server request itself. What if we then... So, this thing here receives a server request. So if we say request and what was the type? Oei, wrong button. Type was a server request. Okay, define it specifically, I guess. This has a message converters list, so it should have... Let's just print them all. See what happens. Okay, we've got a byte array, a string HTTP, resource HTTP, resource region, all-encompassing HTTP, and then a mapping Jackson to HTTP message converter. And I'm gonna guess that this one has an object mapper. So let's fetch that one. Filter instance. This one, please. And then let's get the first one. And then this one has an object mapper. And let's see if we can find serialization config or something. Well, let's see what happens if we do that. Wait, wrong button. Redeploy. Rerun that get. We're so close though. Object mapper. I guess what we could do for absolute certainty is if we... yeah, because you don't mutate the object. I keep forgetting that. Is enabled. What was the thing again that I wanted to enable? Fucking hell, the date format bullshit. Oh, Pinklu, you will help me. What is happening? I'm deep inside Spring Magic Land and I probably shouldn't be there. So what's happening is if I run a get all quotes command, the JSON that's gonna come out is the timestamp looks like this, and I don't want it to look like that. I want it to look like, yeah, like this in fact. Just a year, month, day, T, and then ideally like some kind of a timestamp with a Zulu time, the Z at the end. And I cannot for the life of me figure out how to configure it. I've tried changing over here. There's a way to just say this is the date format, but the standard one, so that one for example, should have that that option. If I then rerun my application and I rerun my get, it's not listening to it or something. I don't know what's going on there. And this at field lives on a quote. It's a local date time. And yeah, I cannot configure it. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I tried doing that. I tried defining Ajax and object mapper builder. I tried defining a primary bean where I define an object mapper. Where I do, yeah, the same. And none of it is working. The config doesn't work for local date time. Yeah, I don't know why it wouldn't. Yeah. So now I was trying to debug what was going on by trying to fetch which object mapper I'm getting, so that I can then check which feature here is enabled or disabled. And the unfortunate part is that I can actually ask the date format though. Let's try doing that. Maybe the other thing I am wondering now is, am I actually doing changes to my application if I just rerun it? Doubting my own sanity. No, I can see that it is changed anyway, so yeah, it should be. Time zone null, the locale is this. It's the standard date format. And standard date format should print it like that, and it's simply not doing that. So it does say that it's using the standard one. So if I go back here and I say, so now we know that, or we can confirm that this is not working. Or let me disable all of this crap. Rerun, maybe recompile first. Then rerun the application. Rerun the get. And it stays at standard date format. So doing this doesn't do anything. Interesting, eh? The other thought I had is that maybe my Gradle build, since I don't define the I do define a Jackson module Kotlin, but I don't define the Jackson module datetime stuff, that I can configure it, but that theory was denied when I remembered or tried doing something like this, where you say, well then just try registering the Java time module, and this one you can only get to if you've got the Jackson data type on your class path, which I do, so yeah. And it's literally over here, wacht, local date time deserializer, voila. So this is on my class path. I don't know. Yeah, yeah. You use standard date format instead. Yeah, I've got no clue. No clue whatsoever. The only special thing I'm doing here is I'm using the router DSL. It's the only difference I can think of that might matter. What's this nonsense? Fucking hell. But even then, this date format should work, eh? What's the disabled feature? So there wasn't really one, but according to some blog posts, this one describes by default this is what your dates should look like. It's not the case. And then they describe, actually, you might want to. Where is it? I can't find it back. Maybe if I look for the docs of Spring Boot router DSL. Does this thing have dates? No, it doesn't. It's unfortunate. configure routing. Ah yeah, okay, so this one uses a class. Instead of just functions. The fact that the default representation is a list, yeah, it does seem off to me too, but yeah. You suggesting that it's not checksum that's parsing it or something? No. Maybe another thing I can do is if I write an integration test. What does this routes test do? Let's just add another test in here. Test object mapper. And what I want to do here is I just want to inject the object mapper, I guess. Ah, Sabba. Sabba, how well is your string knowledge? Yeah. Megan says hi. Let me move this one closer to where I want it to be. Voila. So if I say, let's just build a default quote. Can we not do that? Default single line quote. A single line quote. Oh my Jesus. Okay, stuff in there. Great. This is a quote. And then we want to use the object mapper to say write value as string. And let's just print this thing. So ID lines, and here's the fucking data in the format that we expected. So the object mapper that gets injected by default is not the one that's being used when doing the request body. So somewhere this doesn't matter at all. In fact, it's probably just correct. But here, when we say body turn these found quotes, okay, let's make it into a list then. So it's not entirely correct. Yeah, still the same, huh? So I don't understand. for some reason, when you do this, server response.ok with the .body, and then the stuff that gets returned gets turned into, or does not use an object mapper somehow. But then what is the thing that converts it? I simply do not understand. Can we maybe start this application and debug or something? I guess if you do that, then you get more logging, eh? If I'm not mistaken. Doesn't look like we're getting more logging. No. No. I don't get it. Fuck. Oh. Jan, help. Or anyone help. Router function. The responsibility lies elsewhere, eh? That's just it. This thing just hooks into some Spring stuff that does some pattern matching to hit the correct methods. But then the moment you return something out of that function, there's some other magic that does the translation for you, eh? That does conversion from object to JSON. And normally it should use the existing stuff for that. And for some reason, it's not doing that. God damn it. So the easy fix is to pass along an object mapper, I guess, and then do the transformation yourself in here. Instead of returning the found quotes, you would return. Let's try something. We just say dot to JSON. Let's make this an extension function on any. But let's make it a local function. Then it has to be. It's not in the server response itself, you say. Wacht even 2 seconds, eh? This should return a string. let's first finish this experiment, very quick. Add it as a parameter. Sure. So we don't need to do that because the default gets created. Rerun. Oh, don't tell me it's something silly like that. Yeah, so now we're getting a simple string back with the correct translation. So that's now it's correct, let's say. So this would be a fix, huh? Let's go back here, and instead of doing this, you mentioned, does the body also automatically do the build? In fact, if you do .build, it will simply not compile. So indeed, if you do .body, it's gonna return a server response. And then some other stuff. It's the body of the response, and it can be an any. Might be this thing here. If we set the content type, maybe that's the issue. Because I guess if you don't set the content type, then Spring will have a hard time finding a correct converter. Maybe that's the issue. Nope, that's not the issue. Sounded plausible though, huh? No, I'm at a loss. The other thing I think is weird is that it, like when it's rendered, it looks very weird too. Wacht, let me remove this, because now we can see that the header is sent explicitly. Yeah? So if I relaunch the application and I don't set this content type, and I perform a get, then in the header we still get the application JSON content type. Yeah, cake. And then we say rerun it. Ah, voila, okay. So the nice printing you get because of the content type is set to application JSON. And now it does work, but you have to do it manually. Yeah, cake indeed. I simply don't get it. I'll have to ask somewhere in like the Kotlin Lang Spring Slack or something like that. But I guess this is a temporary fix, huh? So the default object mapper gets injected in here. That would mean that we could configure it with this thing, where we say Jackson date format is... Where is it one? No, it's not that one, huh? This one? I think that would be the default though. So I want that Z at the end to indicate the Zulu time. This doesn't change anything. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. Screw it. So this I can remove. So can this be removed? Yeah, I should be streaming weekly. Last week I was hit with the COVID, probably leftover from Kotlin Conf. And yeah, should be streaming back on a weekly schedule again now. On Tuesdays. And I did start very late today. Well, yeah, did get some work done. So I'm going to commit this part. If we go to stream.md, we can tag this thing. Alright. Have a good one. I'm also gonna quit. Yo, yo, yo. Alright. This one I don't even remember what that is. Bunch of failure paths that haven't been tested in the repositories. Let's go look at our repositories, I guess. Data. There's 2 of them. What are the error paths? I wish I would have written them down. There is an error here, so I guess maybe if you do the find all. And it fails. Yeah, it's not tested. Do I care? This one is definitely tested, right? this one is tested. And what about in here? This one isn't even returning a failure. That's not great. I think I'm just gonna wrap this in a try catch. And here it should just return error of a share failure. Voilà, ça. Hop. A bunch, it's the one, and then there we go. Okay. All right, so next time, let's see what we can do next time. I found it again. So we've completed this one, this one, this one. Next up is reading a shared quote. So that's let's mark that in our stream.md. Okay. And I think doing that. No, that's all. Okay. Maybe the Saba, you know this, like, do you know of some kind of a library or an algorithm that turns part of UUIDs into readable strings that might look like this? KQ blah blah blah, like five characters long would be great, because now when we run that share quote thing, you'll just get an 8 character long part of the actual UUID, but this is not very readable for a user. It would be nicer if it would read something like KQ blah blah blah. Or if you don't, yeah, then you don't. Alright, so reading a shared code is for next time. Thanks for hanging out. I'm gonna dip out. yeah, see you next time.